2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. This meeting will be recorded by the local scene, formerly known as pac-tv. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by viewing the Duxbury Government Access Channels, Verizon 39 or Comcast 9. Viewers can visit thelocalscene.media/Duxbury for information about Duxbury programming, including streaming and watching replays on Duxbury YouTube. I will call the Monday, September 30th meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is open forum. Open forum is a time for anyone in the audience or board members to bring up some new business that they'd like to put on an agenda or just raise awareness about something. I'll start with the board. Anything tonight?
I don't have anything.
Brian?
Just one thing to share. At our last meeting, this board unanimously voted to request a one-year extension for compliance under the MBTA communities zoning statute. I'm happy to report to you that the state has agreed to meet with us to discuss that issue, and we're meeting on Thursday, October 3rd, to discuss the issue.
That's right.
And
This Thursday.
That's this Thursday.
And the meeting is with,
It's with the state, it's with the office.
no, I
that-
understand, but the state and who else?
So there'll be Scott Casagrande,
Okay.
myself,
Yeah.
Rainey. There are a number of folks.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
who
it
is-
won't be a
who
public
is the interim-
meeting.
It's not a public meeting,
Okay.
no, no. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
No, she's never been announced, as far as I know.
Will you be announcing the interim planning director at some point? Do we know who the?
Rainey will be on the way, and I'll make sure he does that.
Okay. Cindy, anything under open forum?
Just a public service announcement. I just passed two young boys on Route 14 on what I think were motorized skateboards going down the middle of Route 14 at dusk. And so any parents out there that might be listening that might want to caution about the dangers. It was, yeah.
Huh.
Or the schools or police.
Thank you. I think that with our safety committee, that might be a topic that we need to touch on at some point in the future. Anyone from the public have anything under open forum tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may, I don't want to take your time. I know you have a public hearing.
Thank you. Could you
if-
state your name and address for
Sorry,
the
Chad
record?
Carpenter, Summer Street.
Thank you,
267
Mr.
Summer Street.
Carpenter.
If it please the board, with your permission, I'd like to take this opportunity at the public forum to make some corrections to some information that came into the public sphere last week in the Clipper. Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. There were a couple of errors in an article that stated, this is regarding the MBTA communities law.
Okay.
Stated that it required a 50-acre minimum parcel. That is incorrect. It requires a total of 50 acres, and one parcel is a 25-acre minimum. I want to make sure that was clear. Also, the plan as far as parking spots said there was 2 parking spots per unit. The plan is at this point 1 parking spot per unit, and the developer will determine if they need more. This is referred to as a market-based solution, and that's something you'll hear more about. And I'll reserve the remainder of the comments just to point out that people should seek accurate and truthful information, and we welcome them to the open house on October 17th to get that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening under open forum?
Madam Vice Chair, just to tag on to Tag's comment.
It's a double tag.
The MBTA Communities Working Group is also meeting tomorrow at 5:30. I believe we're at the Senior Center And while it's not a public hearing per se, we're very interested in continuing to receive public comment, and public comment will certainly be received at that time. Everybody is invited and most welcome to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else under open forum? Do I see a, no, that's your hand up. Nancy, right? Nancy, do you have something under open forum? First item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing regarding a new liquor license for Cafe Viola, 1518 Tremont Street, and a common Vittler license. Is there someone here to present that application?
Is it a public hearing?
It's a public hearing. Do we have to open it? Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Could I get a
Let's see.
motion to open the public hearing?
Yes, let me make sure I've got the right page. Here it is.
Thank you.
I move that the Select Board open the public hearing regarding the new wines and malt beverages on-premises liquor license application for Forza Viola LLC, DBA Cafe Viola, owned by new manager Francisco Chianti. Location of premises 1518 Tremont Street, Duxbury. Requires a roll call vote.
Second.
Roll call vote, please. All those in favor?
Aye, Fernando.
Brian, aye.
Cindy, aye.
Amy, aye. Okay, so in our packets, is there anyone here to discuss this application?
The applicant is here.
The applicant's here.
Can we go to the, please?
Hi, my name is Francesco Cionti. I'm originally from Italy. I lived in California for 20 years. I moved here in the area about a year ago. So I'm opening this cafe, and it's kind of like similar to a restaurant I used to own in California that I sold. And I just want to add just beer and wine to get with the meal for people that have a nice sandwich or lasagna, and to accompany this type of food, basically. So it's just a cafe, so it's not gonna be a bar or full restaurant. So
Okay.
that's my goal and intention, basically.
Well, thank you. This is
You're
your
welcome.
chance to say the delicious, amazing food.
Yes.
Beer and wine.
So everything is homemade, bread and the lasagna. So
I'm sold. Time of day, my stomach's growling just listening. Questions from the board?
No, the application
Yeah.
looked complete. It even included a proposed menu, which is why we're also hungry, I think. All the individual entity appears to be in good standing. I know that's important. And there aren't any issues in the application that I saw that would cause us to consider not granting the application.
And this is, Nancy, this is just for inside dining. I know that, so it's just inside only. And this is a new liquor license, so this is, most times, I think this board's seen the transfer of liquor license, so this is the first new one that I think I've seen, maybe.
Is there a limit to number of licenses that we can have in Duxbury? Is there one being given up, or there's always been one available?
This is just the wine and malt, and it was available.
It was available. Thank you.
I agree with Brian. I looked at it. I don't see any issues whatsoever. And it looks delicious.
It does look delicious. Any members of the
Thank you.
public wish to comment on this application? Again, new restaurant, 1518 Tremont Street, right?
thank you.
Which is also Cox's Corner, right?
When are you hoping to open, Mr. Chianti?
Well, we hope to open next week or
All
the
right.
next 10 days. We're still working on the menu and getting the labor, the employees, which is hard these days. So,
All right, well, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'll take a motion.
I move that the Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority, approve the new wines and malt beverages liquor license and common victualler license for Forza Viola LLC, DBA Cafe Viola, manager Francisco Chianti, located at 1518 Tremont Street, as presented, and subject to the requirements of the Board of Health, Municipal Services, and the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission.
Second.
Requires a roll call vote.
Fernando, I.
Brian, aye.
Cindy, I.
Amy, aye.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Fernando, I.
Brian, aye.
Cindy, I.
And Amy, aye.
Good luck.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Good luck. We look forward to trying it. Moving right along, we have the transfer of liquor license regarding Snug Harbor Wine.
Just a quick question of protocol. It says 6:45 and it's 6:40. Is that 6:41? Is that okay for us to?
Within 5 minutes.
Within 5 minutes. All right, thank you.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, we can come back to it.
Within 5 minutes, so we
Yeah.
got 4 minutes to go. We're good.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think we're pretty good. I mean,
fine.
Robert's rules, you got 5 minutes on either side of the posted hour.
Okay.
all right. So do we have an applicant here for this transfer?
Public hearing.
Oh, it's another
See, we
public
have to
hearing. Oh,
open
I'm
this,
sorry.
yeah.
I don't-
Yeah,
I
we have to
don't-
open it.
I move that the Select Board open the public hearing regarding the transfer of liquor license for Snug Harbor Wine.
Second.
Roll call. All those in favor?
Fernando, I.
Brian, aye.
Cindy, I.
Amy, aye. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Are you the new proposed owner of Snug Harbor Wine?
Yes,
Sorry, I'm
my
trying to
name's
get-
Tracy Colamico.
Hi, Tracy.
You maybe just share a little bit about your experience in this business, please, in this type of business?
Sure. I owned a retail store called Stillwater's Wine and Gourmet in North Situate for 7 years. I actually opened it the same year that Richard opened Snug Harbor Wine. So we knew each other a little bit through
Right.
the industry. Owned it for 7 years. I closed it right before COVID for personal reasons and just the location and whatnot where I was in Situate. And then learned about this recently.
Good, excellent. It's a very nice wine store, so a great location.
It's very similar to mine, so I focused on small, local, family-owned vineyards as opposed to some of the big box stuff you see at some of the other stores.
Okay.
So you're going to keep it kind of on that same theme as it has been. That's great.
Yes.
Questions from the board?
My only question, and it's not this specifically, I don't think so. This rings a bell in terms of something we did recently.
It
What
was
was that?
this. It was the same, and I'm not sure what happened with the last,
It basically, it was revoked or the deal canceled
yeah.
on the transfer. Yeah, maybe just leave it at that.
Okay, so
No-
whatever,
Nothing untoward, it's just basically the,
it's okay, business, not all business deals go through.
that's right, yeah.
But that's what happened, that there was, okay, because I was racking my brain, I thought we,
We
Yeah.
did just
Yeah,
do
we
this.
this
recently
is
did.
Groundhog Day.
But we did,
Nothing to do with the license.
nothing to do with the license.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's fine. And so there's nothing that we need to follow up on with any prior issue?
No.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, any further questions, Cindy?
No,
Anyone from
nothing.
the public have any questions? We're on Zoom. Hearing none, I'll take a vote.
I move that the Select Board, as the local licensing authority, approve the application for the transfer of license from Richard Marble II, owner and manager of Snug Harbor Wine LLC, DBA Snug Harbor Wine, to Tracy Colamico,
Colamico.
Colamico, thank you, manager and owner of Snug Harbor Wine and Gift LLC, DBA Snug Harbor Wine, located at 459 Washington Street, as presented, and subject to all requirements of the Board of Health, Municipal Services, and the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission.
Second.
Requires a roll call.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Fernando, I.
Brian, aye.
Cindy, I.
Amy, aye. I'll take another motion.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, Fernando, I.
Brian, aye.
Cindy, I.
Amy, aye. All right, moving right along.
Great. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. We have a discussion regarding street acceptance process for Cooper Hill Road. And I believe we have Sharon
Yep.
here with us tonight. Hi,
And-
Sharon.
And if I may, Madam Chair,
Please do.
just by way of introduction, Sharon, I'm going to just read the explanation that we've got here, and then we'll go from there. This was previously presented to the voters as Article 23 in the warrant for the March 9th, 2024 annual town meeting, at which time the Select Board and Finance Committee both unanimously recommended its approval. Town meeting approved Article 23 with a vote of 78 yes and 14 no, thereby meeting the requisite two-thirds vote for passage. The town is required by statute to acquire rights in Cooper Hill Road within 120 days from the town meeting vote. Due to various issues, the street acceptance process was not completed by July. Those issues have now been addressed, and the town is ready to complete the street acceptance process, which requires the process to begin again with the Select Board voting its intention to lay out Cooper Hill Road as a public way with a referral to the Planning Board for their non-binding recommendation. Once the Planning Board recommendation is received, the Select Board votes to adopt the order of layout. Then there will be an article in the November special town meeting warrant to vote on the layout and accept the road anew. The explanation for the March town meeting stated as follows. In April of 2023, the town received a request from developer Kevin Sealand asking the town to accept Cooper Hill Road as a town way. After extensive review by both the Select Board and Planning Board, it was determined that Cooper Hill Road was constructed in accordance with Mass General Law and the Planning Board's rules and regulations governing roadway construction. This article has met all of the statutory filing deadlines and as such is being presented to the voters for their consideration. End quote. A positive vote will allow the Select Board to make Cooper Hill Road a town way. The following documents are attached, the as-built plan and a memo to the Planning Board, and you have a motion in front of you. And Sharon is here to help answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
I
Fernando?
just have a bit of background or context with various issues. What were they?
We had to get the easements finalized within the 120-day period. It was unfortunately because of some personal issues with my being in India, I did not meet the July deadline, and for that reason I'm requesting the board to reconsider the street acceptance at this time.
Right. Apologies for that, Sharon. I thought maybe there was a technical issue about the road itself, but so no, understand and yeah, that was my reason for the question. Was there any technical? Was there any issues with us accepting the road? It looks like it was just timing. That's all. Thank you.
That's good.
Brian?
No, unless something's happened to the road itself, and I'm not aware of anything, so.
No, same as we've already looked at.
If I could make one comment just on the narrative, and I know, oftentimes we rely on these kind of narratives in the future. And I think it's important to, this memo is really good because it sums it all up, except that it says that this particular roadway was constructed in accordance with Mass General Laws and the Planning Board's rules and regulations governing roadway construction. But more importantly, this was built in accordance with the subdivision rules and regs for an accepted roadway by the town, because we've run into this in the past where people with private roads that are not built to the standard of a public roadway will come in, seeing this, they'll make the pitch that their roadway is eligible for town acceptance, where it's a really big difference between the built to a private way versus built to a public road standard. And this was clearly built. So if we could just,
I agree, and that is a road that you and I have traveled.
yes, it is.
Can we amend this memo on the floor?
Well, the stuff in quotes, no, you can't. That was actually in a previous thing, but I'll fix it. I know what you're
And we
looking
did
for.
pass this.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just,
It's in the explanation.
I know what
Just
you want.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
want
no,
to
it's a
make
good
it clear
point.
for anybody moving forward that
Not for
this is why this is different than some of the others.
Yep.
And
good point, Amy.
Well,
okay, so I'll let you take over after this one?
of course,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so any more questions from the board?
No.
Sharon, did you want to add anything, or are we good?
Just my apologies for having you to read.
Oh,
it.
please,
Oh,
don't
no, no,
apologize. No need to
apologize.
apologize.
Glad to have you back, Sharon.
Any members of the public have anything to comment on with this one? Okay, hearing no comment, I'll take a vote.
I move that the Select Board vote its intention to lay out Cooper Hill Road as a public way, All is shown in a plan entitled As-Built Plan for Cooper Hill Road in Duxbury, Mass., dated December 28, 2022, prepared by South Shore Survey Consultants, Inc., recorded with Plymouth Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 66, Plan 1062, which plan is on file with the town clerk, and to forward this vote and the plan to the planning board for its comments and recommendations pursuant to General Law, Chapter 41, Sections 81G and 81I.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you. I'm going to hand
Thanks,
the
Sharon.
baton over
you, Sharon.
to, oh, there he is. I was gonna bring
All
it
right.
to Mike.
Thank you very much. My apologies for being late. I will move on to the discussions with the Highway Safety Committee regarding a townwide 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. This is going to be done by Paul Broder of the Highway Safety Committee, or
Mr.
someone-
Lewis.
Mr. Lewis from the Highway Safety. But Paul's here too for questions.
He
And
doesn't
Mr.
want-
Lewis is here
Thank
too.
you.
He doesn't
Yes.
want to stand up and talk about it. That's what it is.
Fair enough.
Yes, my name is Jeff Lewis. I'm former co-chair of the Highway Safety Advisory Committee, and we're here to report to the board and just circle back from a previous meeting a couple of years ago about our determination of enacting a town-wide speed limit of 25 miles per hour. Again, as you notice, Paul's here with me as the co-chair of the Highway Safety Committee. But as author of the letter, I thought I would come up and give the presentation, and then you guys can ask questions
Yes,
as you see fit to either one of us.
Thank you.
And if you'll indulge me, I would just like to read the letter that we submitted, just because it pretty much summarizes what our reasoning was, and we're not really asking for any determination at this point, but just wanted to circle back and kind of close the loop with what our determination is.
Great, thank you.
Over the last few years, the Highway Safety Advisory Committee has been evaluating reducing speed limits on various streets in town based on legislation the state passed in 2016. This legislation allows cities and towns to lower speed limits on town-owned streets to 25 miles per hour if they met particular criteria, or the cities and towns could reduce the speed limit to town-wide limits to 25 miles per hour. Using this criteria, our committee has recommended and the Select Board has enacted reducing the speed limits to 25 miles per hour on 19 individual streets. At a Select Board meeting in May of 2022, the Select Board asked our committee to evaluate reducing the town-wide speed limit in lieu of continuing speed limit reductions on a street-by-street basis. Since that meeting, this topic has been a continuing item on our agendas. We have entertained and discussed the use of various types of speed reduction techniques, which includes reducing the speed limit town-wide. At our August meeting, our committee voted 5-1 in favor of keeping a town-wide speed limit at 30 miles per hour unless posted otherwise, and not reducing the town-wide speed limit to 25 miles per hour. Some thoughts against reducing the town-wide speed limit to 25 miles per hour were the lack of widespread effectiveness on the motorist of just having the signage, not having manpower to enforce speed limits consistently, observations of people not obeying the speed limits even when passing flashing speed limit monitoring signs, cost of changing the signs, confusion of people from in town and out of town if the speed limit is lowered and signs are not installed adequately along the roadways, i.e. just installing signs at the entering points of the town. Finding speeds that along roads that have had speed limits reduced has minimal overall reduction of the speeds people drive. The thoughts for reducing the 25 miles per hour was that our committee is focused only on safety and not on enforcement or financial implications, and that if speeds are reduced just a little, that would still improve the overall safety townwide. The committee does feel that speeding is a large concern in town and that they will continue to search for ways to improve the safety of Duxbury streets for all the users. So if you have any questions, either Paul or I will field them. And
Board members, does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Great.
Thank you for looking into this, and I appreciate the committee's work. Enforcement certainly is an issue, and I know there's concern with speeding in different areas of town. Other than having speed traps by the police department everywhere, is your committee familiar with, or can you make suggestions as to things the town could consider doing to discourage speeding around town at the posted speed limit?
Yeah, some of the other things that have come up are, again, what we've enacted recently, or most recently, is the monitoring signs, the flashing monitoring signs. I know they catch people's attention. How long it holds it is still up in the air, I guess. You know, there's been suggestions of using different types of speed control, such as, you know, either not a speed bump, but type of speed controls that are, they call them chevrons, I think, that are kind of placed in the road, or reducing the roadway width, making some physical type of reduction, or traffic calming techniques. But all those carry financial burdens as well as time to enact them and construct them. I think an educational program that would continue to help educate people on, you know, it doesn't apply to me, or, you know, it really improves the safety to all users if people would just be a little more respectful of the speed limits and other users using the roadway. But, you know, we've searched, you know, throughout other states, other types of measures, and, you know, those are things that pretty much come up and that are available to enact. It's just a matter of, you know, timing, financial resources, people obeying and becoming more respectful, I guess.
Thank you.
There's no way that you can, speed cameras are not allowed.
Illegal.
They're illegal in Massachusetts, is that correct?
Speed counters?
Speed cameras too,
Oh,
and then
cameras?
basically record your speed and send you a ticket.
That's my
fine?
understanding, that they are illegal in Massachusetts. I know the city of Providence
Yes.
uses them quite
England, it's unbelievable.
widespread. And being a victim of those, I can attest that it got my attention. Whether it catches everybody or not, who knows? But
They certainly work. When I was living in Calgary, they were very effective in reducing my, changing my behaviors after you get a couple of tickets through the mail. Yeah, but anyway, good point.
A couple things. So, you know, natural traffic calming techniques are very effective, and the town could save a lot of money by just letting the roads really get in disrepair. And, you know, big potholes, it'll slow people down. So I'm just throwing it out
That's
there.
true.
It's an option.
That's true, yeah.
This kind of touches on just something that Cindy brought up earlier, and that is, you know, the speed limit of the roads currently in town is 30 unless otherwise marked. What is the rule about, or are there rules about vehicles that are electric powered? I've seen golf carts recently on the roadways. I've seen, you know, we're all seeing the skateboards and the e-bikes, and now they have the little scooters that are, you know, what are the rules in regards to those?
I'm not positive what those were. I think in general, you know, unless it's a licensed vehicle. I mean, bikes aren't licensed, but, you know, as far as motorized vehicles go, I don't know what the Massachusetts
Does a
law
bike
is.
have to obey the speed limit?
No, they have to obey the traffic rules, though.
So a bicycle doesn't have to go 25, it can go faster.
I don't know the official
If they're stupid.
context of that, but I would think they're obligated to obey traffic rules, and that's a traffic rule. So if a bike could go over 25 or 30, then, you know, probably doesn't happen very often for a very long period of time, but I suppose that would be breaking the rules.
I've seen it.
Well, and I have a question about enforcement. So you have a couple of police officers on the Highway Safety Committee, also a fire department, and a DPW director. But on the enforcement end, is there any recommendations or thoughts on the level of enforcement in town? I'll just leave it at that.
The police department representatives that are on our committee have reported to us, they do traffic monitoring and stops quite a bit. I mean, I think they have reported, as many as, 1,100 stops in a month.
Yeah.
So they do, but, their time is divided up between calls and being all different kinds of places, and they can set up for a little while, but then they may get called somewhere else. So, it does get to be, a time issue for them.
And I know that, I remember going to a finance committee meeting, that they do get a number, they get thousands of calls about speed. And I know that's been a concern for them.
Yeah. And I know they've been very helpful in setting up the speed trailer that they have, and that works to a certain extent. And again, you move it around, and that gets people's attentions for a while, especially the ones that have the flashing lights on them. That really gets people's attention.
Flashing blue lights get
Yes,
there. So when
yes.
the flash,
Not the yellow lights,
the
but
yellow
yeah.
lights
yeah.
are across the street from me, so I watch the people come barreling down the hill on Toby Garden, and it's flashing 48 at you, and they don't.
Yeah,
They just fly right
yeah,
through it. But it's yellow lights. If there were blue lights, I think it would make a difference.
Yeah.
Are there
I mean,
any,
I think a lot of it is just respectfulness of drivers.
Absolutely.
And if there could be some type of a program implemented that would educate people and maybe just, let them know that, hey, they're not the only users on the road, and that their habits and
I do.
the
I
way
think it's a
they-
respect for your neighbor thing.
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
think it's a
yeah.
respect thing. I agree.
Culture.
Well, thank you. Are
Sure.
there any members of the community who have any questions? I really appreciate,
Mr. Brogdon.
there he is. No, you're the member.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Select Board people. For the record, Paul Brogdon, 90 Humphreys Lane, the other co-chair of the Highway Safety Committee. First item is, as you heard Jeff introduce himself, he said the former
I did hear
co-director.
that.
Okay. And as most of us know, his lovely wife Elizabeth was the chairman of the school building committee 10, 12, 14 years ago when we built the new junior high and high school in town. 2 weeks ago, they moved out of town.
No.
So legally, Jeffrey is still in our minds and our hearts and spirit, but technically and legally, he cannot vote. So over the last, how many years, Jeff? 21? 30. We've worked together on the Highway Safety Committee, from the 2 roundabouts to all the other traffic improvements that are being planned now. I just wanted to publicly thank him for his professionalism, his personal touch to everything, and his dedication to doing all the minutes every month, which are a pain in the neck, as we know. Okay?
Thank
We
you.
have no budget, we have no staff, and we do all that. On the other side of the coin, I was the one in the minority that voted to maintain the 25.
Ask that question.
Okay? And I did it for the following reasons. Number one is, we are the Highway Safety Committee. We are not the Public Works Department. We're not the Finance Committee budgeting for traffic control people and traffic enforcement budgets. At least in my view, we are here to look at the safety of the town, period, and exclusively. And that's what we did. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have now 19 streets in town that we have legally lowered the speed limit to 25. If we keep it at 30, what do we do with these 19 streets? They're going to stay there. Okay, the question has already come up. If people come to us in the future and want to lower it to 25, what do we do? Do we look at it individually, or do we look at it with some other direction? And I know when I left here in June of last year, the direction from this board was come back with a group decision. Let's not do it incrementally anymore. So this is still a question, okay? And I'll just say, by working in town the last 24, 25 years versus years I worked out of town every day, you see the way people drive within the 110 miles of Duxbury. And to me, to lower the speed limit doesn't hurt. Does it help significantly? Probably not. Does it help a little bit? Yes. If you look at helping some of the streets in town that would slow people down a half a second, 3/4 of a second, there have been a number of accidents in town that have occurred. If these drivers had an extra fraction of a second, would these accidents still have happened? The one at Cox's Corner back on April 1st. The one 2 weeks ago at Franklin and High Street again. Okay? And to me, it's small money to make it happen, to make it work. Kingston, Situate, Cohasset, and Braintree are the closest towns here that have lowered their speed limits to 25 miles an hour through various means within their political entity in town. I know we talked a year ago when we were here that there were many streets in town, and this was part of our study, that should remain at 30. A lot of the connecting roads, a lot of the roads from Bay Road to 3A, or from 3A to any other part of town. What we did was we looked at 15 to 20, 25 to 30 streets that even if we lowered it to 25, should still stay at 30. That's still my feeling. You know, the smaller streets, the dead-end streets, technically they're still 30 today, the cul-de-sacs. If they haven't been reduced to 25 legally by this board, then technically they are at 30 miles an hour. Okay?
That's crazy.
Exactly. It's a dichotomy here. You look at Cooper Hill, six homes, a dead-end street. You look at McLean's Way, all the newer streets in town, these are at 30 miles an hour. But again, this is why I voted. I know I was in the minority, but I just felt committed to at least explain to you why I felt from an engineering viewpoint the extra reduction of the speed was not going to be the perfect solution here, but at least from a safety viewpoint and the highway viewpoint in town, I just felt committed to doing what we could in town to serve the town's best interest. But obviously, if it stays at 30, so be it. Then we'll just drive accordingly and hope for the best. So, again, I just want to say thank you again to Jeff and Elizabeth for all their dedication to duty in town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Just one personal comment. One thing that I would, if you do get an area or a street that is asking for a lower speed limit or is complaining about traffic or speeding, I don't know if it's within the purview of your committee or it should be, but thinking outside the box beyond a speed limit, you talk about a Cooper Hill, there's natural calming because it's small and it's a cul-de-sac. They're not going to go 30 miles an hour.
No,
But-
my neighbors go.
But maybe, yeah, other than on Amy Street. But ideas like traffic calming. I drive down Canton Street all the time. It's got islands in the middle of it to calm the speed, because otherwise it would be a fast road, you know, straight away. Ideas around traffic enforcement, whether we should have flashing lights in certain places or whether we should have more enforcement overall. And those are kind of ideas that we'd like to hear, I'd like to hear, beyond just a sign. I think we talked about like the blue lights and things like that. Out of the box ideas that maybe other towns use to calm speeding rather than just put a sign up. Just an idea.
Mr. Chairman, and I echo your appreciation for Jeff and Paul and the committee. In my view, it comes down at the end of the day to enforcement. And I realize there are limited resources, but I would like to have on our agenda at some point a presentation from either the chief or somebody from the department who can educate us on what's actually happening, what the data show, rather than what we anecdotally are seeing. I know whenever I'm driving around at 30, I've got a parade on my bumper. But as Betsy Sullivan says, you know, if we all drive 30, then, you know, everybody else will drive 30.
Not happily.
Which is great, but,
No.
but with that
On your
said.
bumper, but.
Yeah, well, since it's a recurring issue, and despite the great efforts of the Highway Safety Committee, if speeding continues to be an issue, which it seems to be, then I would like to hear a little bit more from the police department about what are we looking at in terms of actual speeds, and I'd like to see some data on enforcement.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'm going to move on to the next item on the agenda, discussion regarding a memorandum of understanding with the Old Colony Planning Council regarding the town's open space and recreation plan project. We are joined by our conservation administrator, Nancy Rufo.
And Kathy Cross.
And
Good
Kathy Cross.
evening.
Space.
And Kathy Cross is
Nancy
also here from the
Ruffo.
Open Space Committee.
Yeah, Conservation Administrator, and Kathy Cross, Chair of Open Space. This is another article that was passed at the March 2024 town meeting. It's CPC funding for OCPC, Old Colony Planning Council, assistance with revising the open space and rec plan. So we were just asking for approval and signature on the MOU with OCPC.
I'm sorry, I was coughing on,
Oh, that's okay.
on what?
OCPC's MOU for the open space and rec plan support.
Are there any questions from the board? I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but
Yes.
go ahead.
No, yes, it's pretty self-explanatory.
I have a comment,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman. I see that we're looking for some professional help with a legally required document that, by the way, when the town undertook the comprehensive plan back in 2017, seems like it was just yesterday, it relied in large part upon the open space and recreation plan, which was sort of a mini comprehensive plan. And even though we had to have it in place as a matter of law, it was still very helpful as part of that overall planning process. So I know it sounds like we're just throwing something on a shelf, but it's an integral part of what we do for planning in town. And I'm happy to see that we're going to have some professional assistance, not because it hasn't been great in the past, but because we've relied very heavily on volunteers in the past to pull the laboring oar. And Kathy Cross, who's here in the audience, was one of them. Pat Loring, Lori Hall, I think others on the Open Space Committee for many years pulled this together on a volunteer basis. And I don't think their efforts have really been truly recognized given all of the work that went into it. And you can see now we need a consultant to do the work. It's that involved. So I want to acknowledge Kathy, Pat, Lori, and any others. I'm sure I'm missing others.
Holly Morris.
Holly Morris, thank you.
Yeah.
In preparing this in years past for zero. You know, we're paying $30,000 now, which is appropriate. I get it. But we saved a lot of money over a lot of years because of dedicated volunteers like Kathy and others. And I just want to say thank you.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the Select Board approve and execute the Memorandum of Understanding between Old Colony Planning Council and the Town of Duxbury for the purpose of updating the town's open space and recreation plan as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
night. We have a discussion and vote regarding declaration of surplus from the DPW department, and I'm just pulling that up. The DPW is requesting that the Select Board declare as surplus the following item: a 2012 Chevy Silverado pickup truck, VIN number 1GCNKSE08CZ323376. This vehicle has come to the end of its useful life. The frame has rotted out. Does anybody have any questions?
What color is it?
Let's see.
It's rusted.
It's
kind of rust.
It has it. It
Rust.
is
It
a
is.
silver.
Silver.
All right.
It's a silver
It
Silverado.
was silver, now it's silver
yeah.
and brown.
It's brown, yeah.
Yeah.
Spotted.
Any other
Not
questions?
silver and gold, silver and brown.
I will entertain a motion.
I move to declare as surplus the following: a 2012 Chevrolet Silverado pickup, VIN number 1GCNKSE08CZ323376, in order to allow this item to be disposed of, sold, auctioned, or donated, all in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30B, and the town's rules and regulations, with the proceeds to go into the general fund.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, now we have, the Select Board will announce the date of the special town meeting and vote to open the special town meeting warrant and call for articles. So do we have a bucket we're going to pick a date out of, or do we have a date selected?
It's right there.
We got it.
I'm just messing with you, Rainey.
Not that one, you're not. Trust me.
He's not
It's like
taking
air
that
traffic
bait
control.
at all.
We're gonna bring it in for a landing, I swear.
All right.
No smile there,
So,
Mike.
The 19th, though, yes.
November 18th, there it is. All right. So I will take a motion.
I move that the Select Board vote to open the November 18th, 2024 special town meeting warrant.
Any discussion?
Second.
I have a second. All those in
God.
favor?
Aye.
All right. Hear ye, hear ye. We have a call for the articles for the November 18th, 2024 special town meeting. The Select Board invites citizens to submit articles for the November 18th, 2024 special town meeting. Articles must be submitted to the town manager's office by 4 p.m. on Monday, October 7th, 2024. The complete article language and a brief explanation of the article are required. Please contact Nancy O'Connor at 781-934-1100, extension 5401, if you have any questions. And we also have to... Oh, we did that. That's it. November 18th, be there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Town managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. We have a new interim planning director. Her name is Rebecca Ruffley. She started last week. Terrific person, a lot of fun to work with. Her focus right now primarily is on the MBTA article and everything having to do with that. And then she's also working on the, working with the Hall's Corner Working Group as well. So, but her primary focus, like I said, because she's got limited hours, is the MBTA stuff. So we're getting through that.
Can you just say her name again? I'm sorry.
Rebecca Ruffley,
Roughly. How many hours is she working?
about 24.
24.
Rough.
Oh, like rough.
Okay. Thank you.
And how interim is she? Do you know, I mean, you know what I
Or
mean?
can you share that with us?
Well, actually, the interim nature of her work isn't so much the length of time, it's the amount of time in the office. So she's sort of part-time, if you will.
Okay.
Part-time in
So
time.
she's a
Yeah.
part-time, but not
So
for
there's
just...
no end date or
No, we haven't
expiration of...
discussed that. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Are we going to continue to look for a full-time hire?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep. On Thursday, you might want to write this down. On Thursday, October 10th at 6:30, we would like to have a joint meeting with the Select Board and the Finance Committee at the Senior Center to review warrant articles, most specifically the MBTA zoning article. It's going to be, that's kind of a heavy discussion. So if we can get to the other ones that are on the warrant, fine, but the primary focus, because that's the first article that'll be on the special town meeting warrant, is going to be the MBTA communities. And we figured two birds with one stone, right? Because that way we can have the presentations made all at once, if that works for you folks. Does that work for you folks, or can you check and get back
Works
to me?
for
It does,
me.
but has the Finance Committee been given kind of a charge, or are they independently reviewing?
They do exactly what they do with every warrant. They review every article and make a recommendation.
This is a
to
pretty
the
heavy
voters.
one with, pros and cons on both ends that are financially driven. I just didn't know if they've had a meeting before this to discuss how they're going to approach this as
Well,
opposed
they-
to having a freewheeling conversation on October 10th.
No, there'll be a presentation made
Okay.
by the working group, the MBTA working group. Rebecca's already contacted them.
Them who?
Presentation by the
MBTA
working group,
working
but
group.
not the, you're asking about the
I'm
finance committee.
looking for a presentation from the Finance Committee. Like,
But
I'd
they're
like to
Well,
know
the idea
their
is to
thoughts.
have you guys both go at the same time.
Yeah,
If you're thinking that the finance committee, I think,
it's going to give us some advice.
Well, they'll do it right
On-
there.
on the financial impacts of,
The MBTA communities passing or...
The
I'm
Finance
not
Committee
sure
wouldn't-
they're not
The
gonna
Finance
do-
Committee wouldn't generate that.
They're
That would
not
come
gonna
from
do
the Finance
that,
Department. But
Mike.
that would be up to the MBTA working group to do that,
To do what?
if there's any kind of financial impact.
That's not part of what the MBTA working group is doing. We're
Okay.
working on just the bylaw.
Well, it sounds like you've got a perfect question to bring to the meeting on the 10th, or the 9th, or whatever date
All
I
right.
tell you.
it's a bigger
10th.
question, and I don't know who's, and it's not a new question. This is a question that has been raised and that the residents are going to need to understand and know, and I think that's going to be I don't know who's going to answer that question.
And on that note, last week, or the last meeting, you had asked to write to the director of the Livable Communities Division, and I did, with Amy's and, not you, don't take offense, with Amy and Brian's help. And this is the letter that went out. I think I sent it to you all. If I didn't, well, now you know. And we have a meeting with the guy heading this up, Chris.
Oh, yeah, Brian had brought that up under open forum.
Oh, he
This
did?
is
Okay.
regarding the extension, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
The extension.
That's the nature of the conversation right there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm sorry, when is that meeting again? I know.
Thursday.
This
Thursday.
Thursday?
Thursday, but it's not,
Thursday morning.
there's a cadre of people that are attending.
No, 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 I'm not planning
Thursday,
on
the
attending.
joint meeting with the finance committee, she's asking.
Oh, sorry.
No, I wasn't asking.
I'm
that.
I think she was asking about this one.
I just couldn't remember what Brian had said, and I just couldn't remember.
Can you give me the date for the other one, the 10th?
It is Thursday, October 10th at
Yeah.
6:30 at the senior center. You can do it in person or virtual.
My nephew's birthday.
I will be out of town and unable to Zoom in.
Okay, I think it's recorded.
Okay, I'll watch it afterwards.
Yeah, I think
Thank
it,
you. No, yeah, it'd be good if it was recorded. Can we do that?
Do you know if those are recorded, Nance?
Yeah, we'll make sure it is.
All right, thank you, Nancy. Perfect.
Up next, brief update on the Powder Point Bridge, the Transportation Improvement Plan update. I received notification from Sheila last week that she had spoken to Brian Corderio from Mass DOT, who's the project manager, regarding the status of the Powder Point Bridge Replacement Project, which is programmed for 2027 on the tip. The preliminary design phase of the project is slightly behind schedule, primarily due to the hydraulic analysis taking longer than originally anticipated. This is related to extra emphasis being placed on climate change adaptation and coastal resiliency. At present, Mass DOT expects to have a draft bridge-type evaluation ready for internal review in October, and after internal review, Mass DOT will meet with the town, and Brian's estimate was late November or early December of 2024. After initial meetings with town officials, public outreach will then commence. So essentially, we should expect more info in late of 2024 or early 2025.
Ray, could you just flush out, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
for the public, what it means to be on this TIPS list and how a bridge is built by, or how this is done?
Just explain in 10 words.
Explain it a little bit more.
How
Thank
do
you.
build a bridge? The Transportation Improvement Plan is, it's a program, the Transportation Improvement Program receives federal funding at the state level for state-owned projects. The Powder Point Bridge, if in fact were to move forward with this, would become a state-owned bridge based on their design. The town is allowed to have input in terms of what that design would look like. There can be many different characteristics. It could be perhaps a steel and concrete substructure with a wooden deck, who knows? They've done that in the past in other places in smaller, different types of applications. When she was here last, Sheila Lynch-Benton mentioned the one Chatham, but that is not one that's, well, it's a shorter span, it's a drawbridge, and it's internal, it's not right on the water. I mean, it's on the water, but it's not facing the weather, it's not treated to the weather the way the Powder Point Bridge is. Anyways, the design will change over time, but basically it would allow this, it would allow the town to have the state build this bridge instead of us doing it.
Yeah. When does town meeting get to weigh in on,
I don't know that the town meeting would. I don't know what the specific process is. I know there would be a series of meetings because DOT has them all the time. They did recently as this past summer and the previous fall with respect to the East Street Bridge. They do those kind of meetings all the time. But in terms of town meeting actually having,
let's say?
yeah, I don't know that it's directly like that. I think people have to go to the hearings.
Well, and I think Sheila was advocating for a group to be put together.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to talk for her because she did a nice job, but
Yeah.
I think, what she was saying is that this is the time to be forming a group for that kind of input. So I think, that sounded like a smart move. Certainly, there's going to be a lot of people who have a lot of input or want to have a lot of input on what this bridge looks like. So if forming that group, we should maybe be doing that proactively.
Yeah, I'll have a further conversation with Sheila Scarzi, our DPW director, and see what she thinks in terms of timing. She'd be she'd be
I
the
mean,
perfect person to
yeah,
ask.
even if we form the group and they don't have much to talk about for a while, but at least they're there, they're ready, it
Yeah.
just seems like a smart move.
Yep, I will chat with her and ask her. Another thing I want to let you know, and I had already emailed you this, but it's always kind of nice to say this one twice. I was pleased to let you know that the town of Duxbury was awarded $3 million for the Phase 2 of the Duxbury Seawall project. And in that email, I said that I could not adequately express my gratitude to Candace Martin for her efforts on this, and also to Pat Brennan for playing a very strong supporting role in the endeavor. I had already placed a call into Bill Hinckley at the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs to discuss the details, and I just gave you a copy of the press release, which you have seen perhaps in an earlier email. Just want to make sure you all have copies of it. It's very good news for the town.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Let's see, I already told you about the, I already gave you. Oh, this was kind of unfortunate. Eddie Ramos reached out to both myself and, well, actually, it was Jim Savonin from Lands and Natural Resources. I only have 3 of these, but you can take a look. You can share. So there's an issue here where people have been taking, I hate to say it, Jim reached out, Lands and Natural Resources, DPW, Jim reached out to a number of us and said, and you'll see the photos, they're kind of speak for themselves. Does anyone have any idea how I can stop this from happening? It appears to be deliberate, as it's happened at the same barrels, Keene Street Fields, the past few weeks. The mutt mitt bags are actually thrown into the can after the feces from the animals is smeared on top of the lid of the can.
Oh, that's just
And
incredible.
it's a crying shame that that's happening. It went to the Board of Health, and Eddie Ramos had responded. This is where I started, and I started at the beginning. Mutt mitts should not be put out at Keene Street Field, considering dogs are not supposed to be on the fields, and it's not a walking area. I bring this to your attention not because of the shock effect, of which it is
It is shocking.
big enough, but it's just one of those instances where we've got to tell people, please clean up after your dog and don't bring your dog to a place where it isn't allowed, because it ruins it for everybody else. We've been through this before with respect to other places where people had been leaving their bags and the dog droppings, and it's just not necessary. We ask people to certainly clean up after themselves and don't bring your dog to a place that's not permitted, so.
No, and the town does a really great job with
Yeah.
providing the poop bags
We do.
and the trash barrels for it to go in.
Yeah.
At, places where dogs are welcome, and that's just rude beyond belief.
Yeah, the bags aren't free. We provide them there to try and make it really easy on everybody. So, if your dog's allowed there, bring it, but please clean up after it. And by cleaning up after, it doesn't mean leave the bag on the trail for somebody else to grab it. It means bring the bag and put it in the container in which it's intended to be disposed. The last piece of an update I had was with regard to the DPW building. We had discussed two of the articles that would be in the town meeting, the annual town meeting, the special town meeting warrant. And what I heard certainly was there is an uncertainty with not having a firm dollar amount for the voters to contemplate, which can be confusing, meaning if we're dealing with a dollar amount in the abstract up to $5 million. Instead, we decided we're going to go out to bid on the project in advance of the special town meeting. The ads for the project will go live, and the bid documents will be available to contractors on Wednesday, the 9th of October. The filed sub-bids are going to be due on November 6th, and the general contractor bids will be due on November 13th, which of course is prior to the November 18th special town meeting. Because we will have hard numbers before town meeting and there will be no abstract figures, thus we will know what to request of the voters within the borrowing reauthorization articles. So we're going to have real numbers to deal with, as opposed to something that could be more amorphic.
But the bids are going out for the scaled back, reduced.
Yeah, there are, in fact, I will show you.
Are there options to, if they want to add stuff back in?
Yeah,
Bid?
we've done that. God, tell me I brought them.
It seems very complicated or convoluted.
And I had this question too
And
for
I've
you,
got a way
Rady.
to- And I've got a way to simplify it, to make it really
There you
easy
go.
to understand. So, allow me that. 1, 2, 3.
You can't make that blue folder.
So I'll walk you through this.
Randy, hang on.
So on the top of the page, you'll see in June of 2024, what we had done with the original project plan, which we had initially contemplated a 33,700 square foot building that also included 3 bid alternates: a canopy, expanded administrative space, and a vehicle storage extension. We went out to bid, bids came back, price was too high. So then what we did between June of this year and up to through September, we did a cost control plan, which reduced the size of the building to 30,600 square feet with no bid alternates, and then we identified additional cost control measures to reduce the price, of which there are 20. In the course of those reductions, we still needed to find an additional 600,000 in order for the cost control measures to couple up with the cost control measures that we had previously identified to bring it down to the original appropriation. Since that time, we've come up with a new plan, which would, if bid pricing is favorable and borrowing authorization is amended, we've got now a 32,600 square foot building with 1 bid alternate, which would be the canopy. Also, we would be able to restore some of the cost control measures and keep in the program 7 of the items that I've listed there, and then also implement the remaining cost-cutting measures, of which there are 9. So basically, the way I characterized it during the meeting was Goldilocks and the 3 bears. One porridge was too hot, one was too cold, and one was just right. So the one we're going for is the one that's just right, which is the one that's in the middle. And we're hopeful that the bids will come back, excuse me, favorable, meaning less than $5 million. So what the idea is to come up with it, to have a number, and then be able to present the voters with a real dollar amount and say, this is the amount that we would like you to move from one approved project to another approved project.
At a recent meeting, we learned that to date, 1.7 million, I think, has been spent on this project, yet
correct.
nothing has been built. And that we received a list, and I wish I had it. I might actually have it with me, but I don't have it in front of me, because I didn't know we were talking about this. But on the list were many expenses that were, I was raising some eyebrows at. For instance, there was solar listed on there. That, from the very beginning discussions of the DPW building, we talked to our consultants about the being solar ready and the importance. We're a green community. We want to, be in keeping with that. So there were quite a few costs that I was surprised to see on there.
Without specifics, I can't answer it, but if what I was going to do is have them come back in, the engineers come back in, not at your next meeting, but the one after. And give you an update.
Yeah, it would be good, actually.
That way we'll have the bid on the street at that point.
Very good to understand the difference in a bit more detail, and then answer any questions with regards to the funds spent to date.
Yep.
And that'll be after the bid goes out, it goes out to bid.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're all on board with this scale of project that's going out to bid at this point. Is that what I'm hearing from the board?
Well, the building committee is under the, they're under the charge of me, and that's where we've arrived, and we know that this is the only thing that we can afford to build.
But Rainey, what if that isn't in keeping with what the town thought they were getting when they voted this in? That seems a bit of a problem.
Yeah, they thought they would get a
They thought they'd get a 33,700 square foot building.
for $26.5 million.
Yeah,
And that isn't what's going to happen.
Yep.
It's going to have to be smaller than that.
yeah.
It's not a
So-
lot smaller, though.
No, but it has to be smaller because we can't afford the bigger ones. So it's still, the idea is that we're within the authorization.
No, I understand. It just seems that the town voted on one thing, and they're going to get something else without being able to again say, I'm good with that, or I'm not good with that.
Well, at this point, the only option that you'd be asking them is without, if we were to pretend that the borrowing authorization movement didn't exist, then you'd be going back to asking for more money. But you already said you didn't want to do that. You were very clear on that.
I'm
We could do that. We could ask them for 5 million more.
I'm
but
not-
without moving a borrowing authorization. This way, we're already moving approved money.
I think it's a good
compromised.
compromise. I do. I think it's, a little bit of thinking outside the box and, a good compromise in terms of the funding. The building is better than it was the last time we looked at it.
My one question on this is, as far as like what's been happening between June and September and what we can afford. How do we know that these items are too expensive? Like, they aren't going out for bid, because you're going out for bid.
Cost estimators. They
Okay.
have cost estimators in-house, both at Weston and Sampson and CHA. And the project is actually at the estimator that it goes to before it goes out to bid. He's been working on it since last week. Not he, the group, the team.
Do they make that public? Because I mean,
No.
I sure as heck
They make the
wouldn't.
results do. They make the results public.
Yeah, I wouldn't want people that are bidding on it to know what they
No,
estimated
no,
at.
no, 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 not, it's for in-house. It's an in-house control. It's not something that we lay out there and say, here's what we estimated it at. Every construction company that's worth their metal has their own estimators.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Quick question. We had originally, remind me the amounts that were approved for the seawall and then the actual bid for seawall and the amount of money that we got left. The question is, we've got this $3 million grant. Is that,
Let me show you.
how does
This is
that?
what we had at the last meeting.
Yeah.
You weren't here, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
run you through it. Run it
So
through it.
run it through, so does it
So-
include the 3 million?
No.
No, no.
So we got an
prior to
additional
that.
3 million then?
Yeah.
Well, that's
on top of
cool.
that.
So
Yes.
so the seawall's even, is costing $3 million less. Is that's?
Like 12 million.
Possibly. And it's a huge possibly, because we don't know, we haven't seen the grant award, we've got notification of it, and this is where the kicker is. Because as we've been advised by council, these grants are
They're
discretionary.
They pay them
And-
back?
And the reason that it's been taking so long to deliver them from the state is because they're putting a condition in there, in some cases, that you can have this if you've passed the MBTA.
But isn't this a federal? No, you're right. I'm sorry.
Well, and then there's other information out there that only grants associated with housing. We recently saw something that's the only thing that's on the chopping block. So there's a lot of
Possibly.
misinformation out there and threats
For
being.
unknown stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so this proposal, this proposal was
Put aside
born
that, it would be-
before the seawall grant. This still flies. This can still fly with or without the seawall grant.
Yeah, no, that's not my question, is, okay, but forget about the MBTA bombshell, right? So, let me understand it, the seawall came in less, correct, $3 million?
$5 million.
$5
Yes,
million
it's a win.
less.
That's a win.
And if it is a win.
Give money
so-
back.
Yeah, we either give it back or we.
The
we
money
do-
hasn't been taken. We need to remember
I
that.
know, but.
There's nothing to give back.
Okay. All right, appropriation, we can return the appropriation then.
Hasn't been
It doesn't matter.
appropriated.
Doesn't matter. It's pedantics, but, so basically, if this grant for $3 million is a grant and is not a loan, then there'll be additional $3 million coming off the seawall, right?
Could be,
Yes.
yes.
Okay,
And it's a
So-
grant, it's not a loan.
it's a grant.
It's a grant.
So
And
it
that's-
seems to make sense to, you know what, the last thing we want to do is spend all this money and build a DPW building that doesn't serve its purpose, right? That we've made so many compromises that it operationally becomes very difficult for the DPW team to do their job, right? So if we have this opportunity to use equivalent, this bucket of 3 million, the grant, and then, okay, we've taken out the seawall, but kind of reappropriate and put it to the DPW, but we get back to what we were looking for in the first place. So I'm just concerned. I understand what you're saying, Amy. I'm just a little bit concerned that if we stick to this and don't do this, then we might get a project that doesn't really fit, and we will end up wasting quite a bit of money, right?
I don't disagree with you at all. I think trying to, when the voters voted for one thing
Yeah.
and then getting it scaled back for the same amount or more money
Yeah.
is disingenuous. I'm having a real hard time with that.
But
I think that the seawall issue is a totally different, that's a different bucket of money. Here it is over
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
That's a win all day long.
What do you mean by
But-
disingenuous? What's that? What do you mean by
If
disingenuous?
you're a resident, you went to town meeting that year and you looked at the plans and they get up there and they said, no matter, we've got a cushion, if, things, we're gonna be able to build, this is what you're appropriating money to build. And then what's happened for a number of reasons is that the money that we spent
Uh-huh.
hasn't been enough to buy us what the town thought that they were buying. So the project has, like you said, it has reduced in size and scale and
Yep.
some of the, some of the things that we had felt strongly that we wanted in the building when we first designed it. So now that we were looking at a very scaled back, now we're saying, oh, well, there's this money that we didn't spend over here, so let's put back some of the things that were taken out in the compromise plan, but it's still going to cost more than the original amount of money appropriated. So you're getting back some, but you're also spending money on top of it. And I
thing-
just,
Okay.
So
I understand it. The fact is that there was a pandemic. There was, when the original bids, and it's the word disingenuous, which...
There was
which-
no bids, that's a, yeah.
No, but the cost estimates, right? People were doing, we went out and wrote an article, and basically the town approved an article that was based on estimates, best guess estimates at that point in time. We had a pandemic, and as we all know, cost increased with, it wasn't the cost estimator's fault, it wasn't our fault, it wasn't disingenuous, it's just a fact of, that's what happened. And so what we're trying to do here is trying to get a DPW building that meets the needs of the town and the DPW, and it will operate efficiently in the best possible way. So to try and say that this was disingenuous, that we were...
I'm not saying this was, I'm trying to avoid being disingenuous to the resident voters that think that they bought one thing, and then, us making a decision to scale back, and now we're being asked, now we're going to ask the residents if they want to use money saved in another to subsidize the original amount that they appropriated. It has gotten convoluted.
It definitely has, and I think we won't be disingenuous. We will be very clear.
I'm making sure we're not disingenuous.
I don't think anybody's trying to be
I'm trying to be
disingenuous.
Not at all.
disingenuous.
And I think this is, and I think, I think
What
it'll
we're
be
trying to
good
do is
that we
provide
get this on
clarity.
the agenda for a
Yeah.
couple of weeks. I also, and I appreciate you bringing this up, Rainey, because from my perspective, you've heard me, I share a lot of the concerns that Amy's had. I was infuriated when that $4 million inflation evaporated. But what I am encouraged by, and I want to see happen, is, number one, I'm encouraged by the fact that he's going out to bid and they're going to hold these folks to this price. Number two, we got to get this done. We need a shovel in the ground. It sounds like you're talking about January of 2025. The longer we wait, the more prices are going to go up. This isn't going to get any better with time.
Exactly.
So I think we need to get them in here. I think Amy has some valid questions about these changes and things like that. It'll be a good item to have on the agenda in a couple of weeks.
And we provide the transparency and we provide all the data to the town residents so they can make an informed decision
Yeah,
at the town meeting.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead.
Complete transparency.
Rainey, just the handout you provided to us, to simplify the simplicity.
Yes.
So the first, top of the first page, June 2024 initial project plan. Can you remind me what our town meeting vote was for the, it was what, 26? What was the original number that was approved?
It's in what I just handed you. Hold on.
It wasn't actually.
26.4.
26.4, okay.
Yep.
So when I flip it over, and I see the November 2024, well, the bid pricing, so basically the just right porridge,
Yes,
so to speak.
thank you.
Are we, we're not saying, well, I guess this is my question. If this, we send this out to bid, we want it as low as possible,
Yes.
obviously. But help me understand, just in terms of weighing, I understand what Fernando's saying, I appreciate what Amy's saying. We all want to do more with less. We all understand the issue of the pandemic and costs and all that. But what are we forecasting as being an acceptable number, so to speak, when this other bid comes back? Are we saying 26.4 plus some margin?
No.
Is what we're going to
Well,
ask town
no,
meeting
we-
for?
No.
No, we've already spent 1.7 of that
Okay,
for design, plans, engineering, everything.
all right, so call it 25
Geotechnical.
left.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we want it to be, we know it's going to be greater than that, but less than that plus 5.
We might get a competitive bid that comes in at 26.4 or 25.
well, that's my
whatever.
point.
We don't know.
That's my point.
We don't know.
So we're not, and this gets back to Amy's very valid concern about left pocket, right pocket, same pair of pants, whatever. No, it's true, but hey, I'm on, just because town meeting votes it doesn't mean we need to spend it, right?
Yeah.
So, and to the contrary, we should be proud of ourselves for saving money. And I know that's what we're trying to do here. And I guess my concern is, so we're not, just to kind of wrap up this whole discussion, we're not tonight saying, oh, we're comfortable with some number above and beyond the 26.4 because
No.
we can reach into
No.
some other bucket. We're saying, hey, things have cooled off a little bit in a
I'm not
good
saying that
way.
either.
And that.
Maybe
and that-
inflation's come off.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So-
That
so
actually,
rebidding-
don't say that, because that is disingenuous, that's not true.
What?
To say that inflation's
Well,
come
the
off.
inflation's
Oh,
come
gone
down.
down from the pandemic,
From
yes.
pandemic,
Right,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right,
It has.
right.
Oh,
So,
sure.
so we're taking a fresh look, is another way to put it.
Yes.
With this revised plan.
That's correct.
So instead
Which
of-
doesn't have everything we were asking for originally, but it's substantially similar.
Yes, and one thing I want to point out
Is
is,
that true? Is it substantially similar? I think that's what
it
I want to
is
hear
substantially
from
similar.
our-
Yes,
from
the,
our-
the aspects that are not included is we have a smaller admin space. It's not as big, which is fine. Sheila said it was going to be fine. In fact, where is that sheet? Can I borrow it real quick?
Right there, yeah. It just has
So,
the
yeah.
canopy.
And, okay, so we don't have the expanded admin space and the vehicle storage extension. Those are the only two things. Because we were able to jockey their building around, change the interior configuration so that we could get, work to get more vehicles inside the building.
And the canopy.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd like to draw your attention to is, this is value engineering, and it wasn't here at this meeting, it was at another meeting. Somebody criticized the term value engineering. Well, value engineering isn't just, let's make it smaller and cheaper. It's also doing things like on the second page where the town is going to install the water service instead of having a general contractor. The town's going to do the landscaping. Instead of renting job site trailers for 18 months, we may use the tar kiln building for 18 months. We're looking for all kinds of creative ways to save money. So it's not just cheaper and smaller, it's doing things outside of the box.
Outside of the box.
And yours-
But it is because of the fact that we have a savings at the seawall that we're thinking that we can go back to this expanded
The medium size, yes.
medium size.
If we didn't have that, we wouldn't be.
Right, we wouldn't even be having this
No,
discussion.
we wouldn't. We'd be going with the smaller of the two
The town
versions.
meeting may go with it,
Yep, town meeting may decide to do that. They may not also. They may say, you know what?
Because this is more what they had voted for, more what the DPW needs.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on the town manager's report?
Yes, could I just ask about the sand? You're still hopeful to
We're hopeful, but
use
we're
the
not
sand?
sure, because it might actually cost us money to keep it. In fact, one of the things we looked at was, we're running an ad for the early tree clearing package.
What? I'm sorry.
It's called the early tree clearing package. Based on our initial estimates, we could save another $250,000 by not having to store it at the beach, because that's what they want us to pay to store it.
Believe me.
And actually, the price could go higher than that.
They want us to pay to store sand on the
Well,
beach.
yeah, I had
They're
expected
gonna
that. We
use?
had expected that there would be a storage fee, because it's going to be stored across the parking lot from Blakeman's, which is a revenue generator for them, and it's totally fair for them to ask for a price. The price may be a bit higher than we can afford based on the project, and also, we're not sure of the duration that the sand would have to be there. So it might actually be
But it's
worth,
for their benefit.
say again?
But it's for the beach's benefit.
Well,
No, it
it's,
would be
no,
for
because we'd
not
be
the
storing it for the
reservation.
seawall project.
But it would end up on the beach.
So if it can't be utilized for the seawall, is,
We have no other place to
it
put
seems
it.
to me that the next appropriate beneficiary of our town sand should be the reservation.
And they could provide a bid to do that, if they want it. They have to bid it, otherwise it's illegal, we can't give it to them.
Okay.
Thus, the reason to get back into that bylaw that we, again, one of the unintended consequences here, I think we should look at that bylaw that speaks to sand and earth removal and mimic our other neighboring communities that limit the removal of sand to somewhere in your own town.
We do, except in 4 instances where 4 separate bylaws throughout, not just town general bylaws, but also in the zoning bylaw, the town is exempt from that provision when we do our own construction project, because we don't want to get hung by our own petard. So that's why the exemption, because we had explored that at a previous meeting.
I think the town should be the first one to follow our own zoning bylaws, but that's another conversation. I've just, common
the
sense
sand.
fails me.
All right. We have
That's all I got.
committee appointments and reappointments and resignations.
Yeah, no appointments or reappointments, just one resignation, Jessica Williams from the Alternative Energy Committee.
Thank you for your service.
The following boards and committees have the following seats, with 2 seats each, the Alternative Energy Committee and the Coastal Resiliency Task Force. The following with 1 seat each, Duxbury Cultural Council, Economic Advisory Committee, Fiscal Advisory Committee, King Caesar Advisory Committee, Municipal Commission on Disabilities, Nuclear Advisory Committee, and the Open Space Committee. If anyone is interested in volunteering on a board or committee, you are encouraged to fill out a talent bank form, which can be found on the town's website under the Forms and Documents tab.
And a one-day liquor license request. We have 2 of them, one from the First Parish Church. Let's start with that one.
I move that Ms. Robin Carver is granted a one-day wine and malt license to hold a memorial service on Saturday, October 5th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the First Parish Church, 842 Tremont Street, Duxbury, contingent upon the conditions of the license.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we have Art Complex Museum reception.
I voted yes.
I move that Ms. Allison Cowan, as representative of the Duxbury Art Complex Museum, is granted a one-day wine and malt license to hold an artist reception on Sunday, November 10th, 2024, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Art Complex Museum, 189 Alden Street, contingent upon the conditions of the license.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
An event permit.
I move that Ms. Jamie Rosenblatt, as a representative of the Duxbury Newcomers Club, is granted permission to hold their annual Halloween Spooktacular Trick-or-Treat event from 1 o'clock p.m. till 3 o'clock p.m. on Saturday, October 26th, 2024, with a rain date of Sunday, October 27th, 2024, at participating businesses located at Hall's Corner, Brothers Marketplace Plaza, and Depot Street Marketplace, contingent upon the conditions of the permit.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Speaking of, a chill.
I got an
Like-
actual chill there for a minute.
I know,
It
those-
wasn't
those
baking.
little
and
spooky children.
yeah.
We have some executive session minutes from September 16th.
I move to approve the September 16th, 2024 Select Board's executive session minutes with the contents to remain confidential until the need has passed, with Fernando and Mike to abstain.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. Now some announcements.
We have 3 announcements this evening. The next scheduled Select Board meeting will be on Monday, October 7th, 2024, at 6:30 PM in the Mural Room. Everyone is invited to the Energy Fair 2024 on October 5th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Duxbury High School Cafeteria, 71 Alden Street. There will be exhibits on solar for the home, heat pump energy technology, energy savings methods, and much, much more. There will be EV vehicles on display. Save energy, save money, save the planet. And finally, please come and visit the Duxbury Fire Department Central Fire Station located at 668 Tremont Street on Saturday, October 5th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for their annual open house. Parking will be at the Senior Center parking lot at 10 Mayflower Street.
We'll adjourn at 8, so you have 2 minutes to read the bonus shellfish season.
We have a bonus shellfish season, October 2024.
Good job, Brian.
I move that the Select Board declare a temporary bonus shellfish season for 1, the commercial harvesting of soft-shell clams for the month of October, and 2, the commercial harvesting of quahog clams for the month of October.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.